Hello, 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 hello. This is SB Favor Thinking, and my name is SB Favor. Thank you for tuning in today. Rebecca is here again. How you doing, Rebecca?
Hello, SB. I am doing fantastic. I'm blessed to be here tonight.
Great. I was thinking about what we could discuss, and I did come up with a topic, but I also want you to share what's on your mind before I get into that topic. You want to share something, or is something on your mind in particular you want to share?
Well, there's a storm kind of raging up north, and we are feeling it here in the south.
Mm-hmm.
But what comes to my mind is that there is also a peace and a calm
Yes.
after the storm.
Mm-hmm.
And today, I just want to encourage everybody that there's peace and there's calm after the storm. Just hang in there and be safe.
Yeah, it's been moving up the coast, moving. The Carolinas got it now, Virginia, and then New Jersey and New York, and just it's going north now. So
Yes.
yeah,
I'm seeing videos of trees falling over property, and
yeah.
as a matter of fact, I have an aunt in Connecticut. Her gazebo just went.
Oh,
It's gone. It's gone.
wow.
But those things could be replaced.
Absolutely.
So safety is what matters, and we'll get through this. We'll get through it.
Yeah. Right in the middle of a pandemic, isn't that something?
And that's something.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-mm.
I'm going to get into the topic. The topic that I thought about today was, what do you do when things don't go right? What should your attitude be? What kind of attitude you should have? I thought about that because sometimes we can plan something, or we can just desire something to happen at a certain time, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen the way we want it to happen. So what do? Do you stay upset about it? Do you bounce back quickly, or do you plan something else for an alternative to make it happen? What do you do,
Yes.
Rebecca?
I like that. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I love that type of topic because I know for me,
Mm-hmm.
I have planned things in my mind of how I wanted things, even in life,
Right.
and it didn't turn out that way.
Right.
One thing that actually comes to my mind
Mm-hmm.
was I remember that I rented a large home, and
Mm-hmm.
I had my daughter living with me, and she had just had her child. And my plan was, oh, they're going to stay with me, and
Mm-hmm.
my granddaughter's going to go to school, and I'm going to help my daughter, finish college and all
Mm-hmm.
this and that. And guess what? She decided she wanted to go on her own, thousands of miles away.
So the plans changed.
So everything I planned
Mm-hmm.
and everything I wanted
Mm-hmm.
didn't go my way.
Yeah. So what did you do to just bounce back? Were you upset about it?
I was very upset. I was heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
I was heartbroken, and I was even angry.
Wow.
I dared to say that I was even angry.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while. It didn't happen overnight. It took a while. I had to accept, that she's an adult.
Yes.
And now she's a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to let her go her way. And by the way, she's a fantastic mother, and she's done a great job.
Right.
So I began to start focusing on Rebecca, me.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and that's the right attitude to have. When something doesn't go our way or the way we want it to manifest, we have to make an adjustment, and that's what you did. You made an adjustment. You saw it for what it was, and you planned to do something different. For me, I think it's times in my life I was so disappointed. I just I felt lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
For an example, I think it was in like 2013. I wanted to go back to college and finish my degree because I was already in school for so long, and it was almost time for me to graduate in New Jersey. And when I tried to get back in school, and that fall of 2013, I couldn't get back in. Of course, I didn't want to, borrow a bunch of money. So, there were a lot of financial reasons why I couldn't get back in right away. So I said, you know what? I'm going to find another school and I'm going to move. And so I did. And guess what? I ended up getting in school
Wow.
uh
That's awesome.
2014, January 2014. And so the point of that story is that when I couldn't get back in school at the time I wanted to get back in school, I was disappointed. I was upset because that was my plan. My plan was to get back in school at that time, but it wasn't meant for me to get back in school at that time, you know? So I waited, and once I prayed, of course, and made an alternative plan, and I adjusted my attitude because I was walking around upset and I was sad about it, you know, because
Yes.
school at that time was my life. So anyway, I I regrouped, I made adjustment mentally in my attitude, and I just projected what I wanted, and the thing that I prayed for, God, he brought it to pass. And so, but I think that if I didn't have uh an adjustment in my attitude, I don't think that would have happened. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you, and I like what you just said. You know, develop your real. You have to develop realistic thoughts
Yes.
and plans. So
Mm-hmm.
your plan didn't go your way, but you sat down, sat back, and says, oh, "Wait a second." You didn't lose hope, right?
No, I
You didn't
didn't.
lose hope. You
Mm-mm.
said, "Okay, I'm gonna think this through,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna figure another way on
Yes,
how
Lord.
to do
Yes.
this." You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I
So
did.
so that problem gave you some pain,
It,
gave you some discouragement,
it did.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
But you turned it around and you made some attempts
Yes.
and you were able to develop realistic thinking
Right.
and realistic plannings that was going to be conducive
Right.
for what you wanted and the outcome. And another thing is too, you asked me what are some things that you do when things don't go your way.
Right.
I last week we talked about journaling,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And I just want to bring that back into this week because
Okay.
it's good to journal your feelings, and
Yes.
it's also good to journal some of the pros and cons of what it is that you're looking to do.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And when we fail, or when that particular plan doesn't go our way, I think that we should list it and figure it out. What how are we going about it wrong? What did we do wrong? Maybe it wasn't the right time. And we always have to think about timing,
Right.
making sure too that we do things in God's time. God's time.
Right.
And don't lose hope. Don't
Don't
lose
lose
hope,
hope.
because at the end,
Mm-hmm.
those plans that you have committed to him,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to turn it around and he's going to make a way out of no way. I believe it.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I think that in a moment when I was going through that, I mean, I actually had tears in my eyes because I wanted to go back to school so bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, I had to tell myself, okay, make another plan. I told myself that, make another plan, right? And then once I made that plan, it was a great blessing because I moved into another state. And then once I got to that state, everything that I needed and wanted, I had.
You had.
So you know what?
Wow.
So when I think about it now, I don't think it was the perfect will of God for me to actually be at the school that I wanted to go to. Because when I went to the other school, everything was taken care of. I didn't have to worry about anything financially. I didn't have to worry about nothing. It just seemed like the floodgates of provisions just was open, and what I had to worry about in New Jersey, I didn't have to worry about it anymore in the other state that I moved to.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that experience, it taught me, when you have a setback, just keep going until the other door opens.
That's right.
When you have a setback, just keep going until the other door opens, because that setback does not mean no. It does not mean you're not going to obtain the thing that you desire. It does not mean that it's over. It simply means there's an alternative. There's another road you got to take. It's a detour.
That's right.
You got to go another way. So
That's right.
that's what I did. And so that experience, it taught me a lot. And then, of course, in the process of something not working out, sometimes we can become so disappointed and discouraged, and you can't park there. Have you ever parked in a place, Rebecca, where you was disappointed and you just parked there for a minute, or you parked there for a day? I know I have.
Oh yeah, you parked there for a minute. I mean, I remember. I
Yeah.
remember one time I was so disappointed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another thing. How do you embrace your disappointment?
Oh wow.
How do you embrace that setback?
Mm.
When it's okay. It's okay it's okay to be angry.
Yes, it is.
It's okay to be discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to even we might get a little bit of blue, a little bit of
Yeah.
depression.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but listen, embrace those emotions and recognize, okay, what attempts are you making to reduce that?
Right.
Are they healthy?
Right.
Are they unhealthy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember one time, and this is fresh in my mind, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to bring it out of the context here, but
It's okay.
I remember I was in a church service. I mean, and this was a church full and packed of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember I was the message was something about your emotions and you know allowing yourself to be set free from certain things. And I remember I held this anger against someone who did something to
Mm-hmm.
my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that I stood there and I yelled in the loudest voice, because it was a lot of people and everybody was praising God and worshiping Him anyway.
Right.
And I kept on saying, Jesus, I give, and I said the name of the person,
Mm-hmm.
I give this person to you.
Mm-hmm.
I let it go. I release all the anger. I release all the unforgiveness.
Right.
I release it. I release it. Today, I want to be free.
Right.
And do you know that? Now, that happened about 4 years ago.
Okay.
Do you know that 4 years, here we are later, and I feel absolutely free. No unforgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
no grudge,
Mm-hmm.
no bitterness,
Mm-hmm.
because we could get bitter when we have a setback.
That's good.
We can get bitter when we just make a wrong business decision, when we get involved with a wrong person in a relationship, and we get so deep. But because it was not the time for us, we wasted 3-4 years. And that's a setback for people. But see, today I just want to remind others, embrace those emotions, recognize them.
Yeah, you're
and
talking
get
about
back. Yeah.
You're talking about seeing it for what it is and recognizing what it is. You mentioned the word healthy. You said, recognize, if it's healthy or unhealthy, those feelings, right? So when a person is experiencing those emotions based upon what they have gone through, because disappointment is also an emotion, right? So
That's right.
when you feel that, you recognize it for what it is. But like I said to you a minute ago, you can't park there. We can't park there, right?
Can't park there.
Rebecca just mentioned how she experienced those emotions, and she realized in the midst of her setback, she was dealing with unforgiveness or something towards someone else. But in that moment, she recognized it and she let it go. So I would say that in the process of you understanding your setback, God was also telling you what could have been part of your setback, because unforgiveness could be part of a setback. What do you think about that?
I believe 100%.
It gets in the way. Yeah.
Unforgiveness is part of the setback, because you're not free to move forward to the next level, to the next step.
Right.
If you're holding on to something. And another thing is, if I can add, SB, when I said unhealthy attempts, right?
Okay.
When we have a setback, like I said, and or we make a decision that didn't turn out right, or we wanted something that we never had and it never came to fulfillment. Some people choose unhealthy ways to pacify their pain.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
And I know that's like a whole different topic.
Jesus.
Okay. but we could develop those unhealthy attempts through a friendship with people we have no business being friends with.
Yeah, yeah.
We could go towards those unhealthy attempts, perhaps with excessive drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps some recreational drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Listen, it's the truth because it
Yeah.
happens, But that doesn't that's not going to get us to move forward. It's going to keep us parked.
Yeah. So
It's going to keep us parked.
exactly. And so the point of what we're talking about is when you have a problem, or if you are trying to move from one place to the next because a goal or something that you planned did not work out, bouncing back is the key factor. Not becoming parked in that space is a key factor. And like Rebecca said, recognizing what's going on emotionally, recognizing what's going on with you as an individual. Not to, I use the word park, not to park there. Because if you park there in the midst of a setback, or if you park in a place where things didn't work out for you, like Rebecca said, you have to move forward. How are you going to move forward if you park there? So you have to move forward. So that's really, really interesting how you put that, because right in the midst of disappointment, like you said, you can experience all those feelings to want to use something to numb your pain, or use something to numb your disappointment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, you really have to have a focus when you're dealing with disappointment, or when you have a setback. You have to surround yourself with people that will speak life to you. You have to, of course, pray. And you have to, like Rebecca said, we were talking about journaling last week, and journaling is a way to sort out your thoughts and your feelings, and basically just have a plan. But don't park there. Don't park there, because if you park there, then that leads to all kinds of things. Like Rebecca said, drugs, alcohol, or just using something, a situate something to numb the pain, like she said. So, do you have anything else you want to share about that?
Well, and I always want to say, seek advice from trusted people.
Mm-hmm.
If when we have a plan and there's something we want to do, and we're not sure about it, of course, always seek God.
Yeah.
But it's okay to speak to human beings too. Seek trusted people, and always remember,
Mm-hmm.
we are limited, but God is not limited.
God is not limited.
He
He's not
is
limited.
not limited,
Mm-hmm.
and how we respond to our failures, how we respond to our shortcomings
Mm-hmm.
is going to determine how we are going to go forward.
Yeah, that is nothing to play with. I mean, because sometimes people go through disappointment, and that feeling could last for days. You know what I mean?
It could last for
Yeah,
years.
Lord Jesus. Yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, I listened to what you were saying, and I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, I've been through some disappointment where I had to really, really be like a boxer, when the boxer is standing in the mirror and he's sparring and he's punching, you have to look
Yes.
at yourself, and you have to
Yes.
exercise out of the situation. A
Yes.
boxer literally looks at himself in the mirror, and he watches himself, the way he's stretching his arms and the way he curves and things like that. And so to get out of a situation mentally, you have to really look at yourself, and I use the word box yourself, or exercise yourself out of that situation, because
Yes.
it's really all mental. If you
Mm-hmm.
sit and think about it too long, it's almost like you just start drowning deeper and deeper and deeper. And how can you ever see the plan, the alternative plan, or even project it, if you're sitting thinking about the disappointment? The disappointment is just one incident. It's not the everlasting incident. It's just one incident. It's just in that moment. But you have an opportunity, excuse me, to change that moment. You have an opportunity to do something different for another result. You have an opportunity. I'm going to say that again. You have an opportunity to do something different for another result. I had to say that twice, because
I love it. That's a quote right there.
Yes, 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 yes. I had to say it like that because sometimes that's how I talk to myself and I write this stuff down, and when I go through something, like I said, I exercise out of it. I'm telling you. I exercise out of it. Like I may not feel like it. I may not want to actually just get up and get dressed and go have a good time or smile and talk to people. I might just feel like laying in the bed and pulling the covers over my head and just turning my phone off, because that's what disappointment feels like. But you know what?
Right.
I said, you know what? I am going to get up. I am going to get dressed. Like really get dressed. Oh, I get dressed. And I just feel good.
That's right.
Because if it takes that, then do it. Because you have to exercise out of the situation. Exercise out. You got to fight to get out. You have to fight to get out. And you can't depend on people. You can be surrounded with people that will speak life and cheer you up. But what if all those people go home? What's going to happen when they hang up? What's going to happen when you're by yourself again? You gotta
deal with yourself when you're by yourself.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's why I said you gotta work it out. You gotta exercise. You gotta exercise, and you gotta box yourself out. And when I say box yourself out, you better listen to some music. You better pray. You better praise the Lord. You better go for a run. You better go to the gym. You better do everything you know to do that makes you happy to get out of the disappointment. So that's all I have to say about that. What about you, Rebecca? Because I feel pretty good.
SB, I want to add. I love it. I love this topic because this is reality.
Yes, it is.
And this is what many of us live through.
Yeah.
I was speaking to someone earlier who we were just having a conversation, and it's the reaction of others when you have a setback.
Oh.
Now, you might have a setback, right? Now, and you might get reaction from others that say, "Oh, that didn't work out for her, did it? Oh, I told her not to go out there and do that." And one of the things that I said, you know what? that movie reel, that movie that plays in our mind, it's like a movie in thoughts, right? Oh, what I should have, what I could have, it didn't work out. Right. Sometimes you got to speak to that thing. You got to speak to that thing and say, you know what, this movie has now ended.
That's
because
right.
What didn't work out, I'm looking for an opportunity again. I'm exercising. And I'm going into that boxing ring, and now I'm moving forward.
You have to,
and don't lose hope. But you have to conquer that in your mind.
You do.
When those thoughts come in, because people are going to talk about you. People are going to comment about you, perhaps of some of those decisions that you make. But don't dwell on that. Have hope, move forward. And I like this famous author, and she's an inspirational speaker. She said, I'd rather do it afraid and do it than not do it at all.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you know what?
You know what I'm saying? So if you feel a little fearful, perhaps maybe you have a venture, maybe you have some type of planning, a project, a new business, and you feel a little bit afraid. You know what? You're better off doing it afraid than not doing it at all.
Absolutely. And for the people that want to give you negative feedback or opinions, you don't need them. Make sure you don't even, I would say, Rebecca, don't even talk to them. Just don't even answer the phone when they call. As a matter of fact, hide from them. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're not going to give you positive feedback, and they're just going to give you so much criticism to the point where you can't breathe. When I use the word breathe, I'm talking about live. Because part of living is smiling, and part of living is someone making you smile as well as you helping them to smile. So if they are trying to criticize you to the point where they're not helping you to breathe, guess what? Don't even tell them. Don't even share it with them. Just, because it's not even edifying for them to even try to say things that they don't even know nothing about sometimes.
That's right.
But
don't
Rebecca,
throw your pearls to the swine.
That's
Hallelujah.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that because, that's another part of the battle right there. When you go through something, a setback, such as a setback, excuse me, when you go through something, you have to also be careful who you share that setback with. Because some people, guess what? They're not equipped to give life to someone else. So that's why they have or say things that way, because they're not equipped. Because guess what? If when somebody comes to you and they're disappointed or they're dealing with something, the first thing we should do is tell them that they can do it all over again. But if that person tells you, "Oh, I told you it was not going to work out. I don't know why you're doing this and I don't know why you're doing that." Guess what? I won't talk to that person. I won't tell that person nothing. As a matter of fact,
don't tell them nothing. Like That's I said,
right. I won't talk to them at all. I won't tell them anything because they're not equipped. They don't have no sympathy or no clarity to understand what is happening spiritually. Because if they understood, then they wouldn't even go that route to even criticize you. You have anything else you want to share?
Well, living in the times that we're living in right now, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
This is not time, and I'm serious. This is not time to be engaged with negative people.
That's right.
With negative thinking. Listen, I'm all for people getting help. I'm all for people changing their lives and people being delivered, right?
Yes.
But there are people who don't want to change. There are people that want to live the way they live in the ideology that they have, and if it's going to be negative and it's not going to lift you up and push you out, then it's time to walk on a different path and find a new friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, everyone that we take time out for, they should be pouring life into you, and you should be pouring life into them. I'm not saying that you're gonna have this perfect circle or this perfect crowd, but what I am saying is that the company you keep is the company that you will become, and that's real talk. So
love it.
I appreciate you, Rebecca, taking the time out to be with me again. And I'm sure you got your little fan base out there cheering for you because people are asking about Rebecca.
Well, listen, this is a blessing. This is a blessing, and I have to say, setbacks do want to make you park, do want to make you be stagnant. But you know what? Let's face them head on, and
That's right.
And let's just do it with boldness. And don't be afraid. And if you're afraid, do it afraid anyway. And SB, yes. I love being on this podcast. You're nothing but a blessing.
Thank you.
And you're nothing but a woman of wisdom. And I love you.
Love you too. And thank you, listeners, for taking the time out to just put your ears near us today. And if you need to contact me, please contact me via email at sbfavor@yahoo.com. And if you need to reach out to me on social media, you can reach me at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at sbfavor. Thank you again for listening and have a good day.